Good afternoon to all. We will wait for 1 to 2 minutes and then we will start the lecture. In last session, we discussed about the helical gear. What is the helical gear? Which are the terminologies used in a helical gear? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages of the helical gear? And we will see some terminology just related the normal pressure angle, transverse pressure angle, what is transverse module, what is normal module. Okay, these terms we discussed in a last session. In today's session, we will discuss the next topic, that is virtual number of teeth or number of teeth on equivalent spur gear. Means what? The concept of equivalent spur gear is used in a design and analysis of the helical gear. Means if we see here, this is a helical gear. This is the helical gear, and this TT is the transverse plane. Okay, TT is the transverse plane, and if we see, or if we, and this NN is a normal plane, and if we cut this helical gear at a normal plane, or if we see the helical gear in a normal plane, then it will look like as a spur gear. And if we consider this is the spur gear, if we see the helical gear along a normal plane, then it look like a spur gear. And at that time, how many number of teeth are present on such helical gear? We have to derive the equation for that purpose. Here we see if the helical gear is viewed along a normal plane, then it will appear as a spur gear. The imaginary, and if we see this imaginary spur gear, it is kinematically equivalent to the spur gear. Means if we see helical gear in a normal plane, then it is kinematically equivalent. Means the forces acting on it, or the terminology used in it, it's look like a spur gear. Okay. I think meeting get disconnected due to some network issue. We will see once again this PPT. Okay. Here, if we see this rectangular part is our helical gear. Okay. And if we cut this helical gear along this plane, then okay, if we cut this helical gear along a normal plane, then it will look like a this ellipse. Okay, if we cut this helical gear along a normal plane, then it will look like a ellipse, and there are two axes of the ellipse. That is, one is a major axis and another one is the minor axis, and the dimension of the major axis is r upon cos of alpha, where r is the semi major axis and cos alpha is the helix angle. Means length of the major axis is r upon cos of alpha, and length of semi major axis, semi means half, is equal to r, and where r is the pitch circle radius along a TT. R is the pitch circle radius of the helical gear. Okay, these are the terminology here. And if we draw a circle or a curve to this ellipse, means if we complete the one circle, this circle is the pitch circle of equivalence per gear. Means if we cut the helical gear along a normal plane, and if we consider this as per gear, then this is the equivalence per gear and its radius is RE. RE is the pitch circle radius of equivalence per gear, or sometime it is represented as a R dash also. Okay, and this is the radius of equivalence per gear. Okay, see here, what is RE is the pitch circle radius of equivalence per gear. DE, pitch circle diameter of the equivalence per gear, means this RE also represented as R dash. This RE means this pitch circle radius of equivalence per gear is represented as RE, or also it is represented as R dash. DE is also represented D dash, and R is the pitch circle radius of the helical gear. Okay. Helical gear. Here, RE, radius of equivalent per gear, is calculated by this formula, that is RE is equal to semi major axis square divided by semi minor axis. And from the equation, semi major axis is R upon cos of alpha and semi minor axis is the R. See this equation, sorry. RE is equal to R upon cos of alpha bracket square upon R, and if we simplify this, we will get RE is equal to R upon cos square of alpha, and D is equal to D upon cos square of alpha. This is the equation for pitch circle diameter of the equivalence per gear. Always remember this formula. Some numerical is always asked on this formula, that is pitch circle diameter of equivalence per gear is equal to R upon cos square of alpha. Okay, now we have to find how many equivalent number of teeth are present on a per gear. Just before that, remember this virtual number of teeth. The helical gear is equivalent to an imaginary spur gear, which is in normal plane, that is NN, having a pitch circle radius is R. R is the pitch circle radius of the helical gear. This imaginary spur gear is called as the equivalent spur gear or virtual spur gear or formative spur gear. The number of teeth on equivalent spur gear is called as the equivalent number of teeth or a virtual number of teeth or a formative number of teeth. Okay. T is the, let's see, small t is the number of teeth on a helical gear. Okay. T equivalent. T equivalent. TE means number of teeth on an equivalent spur gear or a virtual number of teeth. Okay. MT. M suffix T is the transverse module of the helical gear. NM is the normal module of a helical gear. Okay. These are some terminology. As we when we discuss about some terminology of the helical gear, MN normal module is, or the formula for module is equal to diameter upon number of teeth. M is equal to D upon number of teeth. Here for a normal module, NM is equal to D equivalent. D equivalent is the equivalent number of equivalent diameter of the pitch circle, and TE is the equivalent teeth. If we rearrange this T equivalent is equal to dE upon nm, and dE upon nm, and dE, if we see here, D equivalent is equal to D upon cos square of alpha. Therefore T equivalent is equal to nm mn into cos square of alpha, where mn is the normal module, alpha is the helix angle. And if we put the value of normal module, then T equivalent in terms of transverse module is equal to TE is equal to D upon MT into cos cube of alpha. I will share this PPT with you, so you can see it and get understand betterly. Therefore, equivalent T, formula for T equivalent is equal to D upon MT into cos cube of alpha. Okay. And module is equal to, formula for module is equal to D upon T. If we put T is equal to D upon MT, by putting this value, equation for T equivalent is equal to T upon cos cube of alpha. Okay, and T equivalent is the TE is equal to formative or a virtual number of teeth, and small t is the actual number of teeth on a helical gear. This small t is the actual number of teeth and this on a helical gear, and this T equivalent is the number of teeth present on a helical gear. Okay, this is the important formula regarding the virtual number of teeth in helical gear. Okay. Now next topic is force analysis of the helical gear. Force analysis of the helical gear. During the force analysis of the spur gear, we discussed that there are only two forces acting on a spur gear, that is, one is the axial force, one is the tangential force and another one is the radial force. But due to the shape of the helical gear or due to presence of helix angle, the resultant force acting on a helical gear is divided into three parts. That is, one is tangential force, which is denoted by Ft, which is always tangential to the, or it is always tangent to the pitch circle at a pitch point. Ft is the tangential force which is tangent at the pitch circle at a pitch point. Another force is radial force Fr, which is act downward, or it is act towards the center of the gear, and it tends to separate the gear. And another one is the axial force. The axial force is undesirable component of the resultant force. Means if we consider the resultant force is F, then it is divided into mainly three parts. That is, one is tangential force, another one is radial force, and third one is the axial force. The tangential, always remember that the tangential force is responsible for transmission of the torque or power or transmission of the motion. Means if we see that the three forces, Ft is represent the tangential force and it is responsible for transmission of the power, torque or motion. Radial force, if we see the direction of the tangential force, the tangential force is always act as a pitch circle and at a pitch point, and radial force is acted toward the center of the gear, and it tends to separate out the two gears. And axial force, it is an undesirable force of undesirable force of resultant force, and it direction of the axial force is acts in an axial direction. It acts parallel to the axis of the gear. Okay, these are the three types of the forces, and if we see what is the magnitude of these three forces, see here the resultant force F is resolved into three components: tangential force, radial force, and axial force. Okay, radial force, if we consider this ABC triangle, this force, the side AB is represent the radial force, this F is the resultant force, and this angle is F phi n. Phi n is the normal pressure angle. Then FR, radial force, is equal to F into sine of phi n. F is the resultant force and phi n is the normal pressure angle. Okay. If we consider in this triangle ABC, BC is equal to F into cos of phi n. If we consider the figure B, here this one is the axial force, this is the tangential force. And if we consider triangle here, point is B. If we consider triangle BDC or BCD, cos of phi is equal to Ft upon Bc, and if we put this value together, we will get the axial force. The magnitude of the axial force is Ft into tan of phi, where Ft is the tangential force, tan phi is the, sorry, tan alpha, here alpha is the helix angle. Okay. uh, in the exam or in final exam, theory exam, there will no question on the, means theory question on a force analysis of the helical gear, but there is always one question on numerical of the helical gear. Okay, here the magnitude of the radial force is given, magnitude of the radial force Fr, radial force is equal to Ft into tan of phi n upon cos of alpha. Phi n is the normal pressure angle and alpha is the helix angle. And tangential force is responsible, or it is used to transmit the power or torque. Therefore, tangential force Ft is equal to T upon R, where T is the torque transmitted by the helical gear and R is the pitch circle radius of the helical gear. The general formula for the torque is equal to force into perpendicular distance. If we rearrange this formula, then we will get Ft is equal to torque upon radial distance, that is R. Okay, this is the magnitude of the tangential force. And here cos alpha is called as the, alpha is the helix angle. The formula for alpha is equal to tan of phi n upon tan of phi t. This formula represent the relation between normal pressure angle and transverse pressure angle. Okay, I will show all the formula together so you will not get confused in this. Wait, I will enlarge this image in Word so you can understand it betterly. Okay, so here are the list of formulas of regarding the helical gear. See, we will see one by one list of formulas of the helical gear. That is transverse module. Formula for transverse module. Transverse module is represented by M suffix T. M for module, T for a transverse, is D upon ZP, or small d upon ZP, or capital D upon ZC, where small d is the diameter of pinion of helical gear. This formula related to the helical gear, therefore D is the diameter of the pinion and capital D is the diameter of the gear of the helical gear, and ZP is the number of teeth on a pinion and number of teeth on a gear. Okay, this is the formula for transverse module, the transverse circular pitch. Transverse circular pitch is denoted by capital P suffix T and is equal to pi into mt. Pi is the value of that is 22 by 7 and mt is the transverse module. Okay. Then another formula is the normal circular pitch. Normal circular pitch Pn, it is equal to Pt into cos of alpha. Pt into cos of alpha. The value of cos of any angle, if we consider cos of 0, then maximum value of cos of alpha is 1, and when alpha is 0, then Pn is equal to Pt. But always remember the value of transverse pitch or transverse module is always higher than that of the normal module. Sorry, value of transverse module is always higher than that of the normal module. Okay, this is the formula. Then the next formula, we will see here the another formula, that is normal module. Normal module, that is equal to Mn, and formula for normal module is equal to Mt into cos of alpha. Mt into cos of alpha. Okay, then axial pitch, formula for axial pitch, it is denoted by the capital P suffix A is equal to Pt divided by tan of alpha. Don't get confused in alpha and phi. Alpha is the helix angle and phi is the pressure angle. And if there is a phi n, then it is a normal pressure angle, and if there is a phi t, then it is a transverse pressure angle. Then the sixth formula is relation between normal and transverse pressure angle. Normal and transverse pressure angle. The normal pressure angle, the tan of normal pressure angle is equal to cos of alpha into tan of phi t. Phi t is the transverse pressure angle. Then another formula is center distance, CD. Center distance or distance between the two centers of the gear, that is small d plus capital D by 2, where small d is the diameter of the pinion and pitch circle diameter of the pinion, and capital D is the pitch circle diameter of the gear. If we represent it in terms of the normal module, then center distance is equal to normal module divided by 2 into cos of alpha into Zp plus Zz. What is Zp? Number of teeth on a pinion, and what is Zz? The number of teeth on a gear. This is the formula for center distance of the distance between two gears. Okay. Then next formula is gear ratio. Gear ratio is always denoted by G, and it is equal to Zz divided by Zp, or it is also equal to Np divided by Ng, or it is equal to capital D divided by small d. Zg is the number of teeth on a gear, Zp is the number of teeth on a pinion. Np is the speed of pinion, and Ng is equal to speed of the gear, and capital D by small d, diameter of the gear upon diameter of the pinion. This is the formula for gear ratio. And next formula for is diameter of equivalents per gear. Diameter of equivalents per gear is denoted by the D dash, or it is equal to DE is equal to small d upon cos square of alpha, where D is the diameter, small d is the diameter of the helical gear, and D dash is the diameter of equivalents per gear, and alpha is the helix angle. This is a formula. We will see the next formula also. Here is some more formulas. We will discuss this one by one. Okay, here the 10th formula in this chapter is virtual number of teeth, that is z dash. Z dash is equal to z divided by cos cube of alpha. At a time of diameter, the numerator is cos square of alpha, and during the number of teeth, numerator is cos cube of alpha. Then tangential force. The formula for tangential force, Ft is equal to T upon R, where T is the torque to be transmitted and R is the pitch circle radius of the helical gear. Then formula for radial force is equal to Ft into tan of phi t, or it is, if we represent the radial force in terms of normal pressure angle, then Fr, radial force, is equal to Ft into tan of phi n divided by cos of alpha. Okay, and axial force Fa is equal to Ft into tan of alpha. This is a formula regarding to the uh, force. And last formula in this unit is resultant force. The total resultant force F is equal to square root of Ft square plus Fr square plus Fa square, where Ft is the tangential force, Fr is the radial force, and Fa is the axial force. These are the some important formulas in the unit number first chapter of unit 2. In unit 2 there are four chapters, that is helical gear, helical gear, bevel gear, worm and worm wheel, in which we completed the, that is helical gear. In helical gear, there is one question. If there is a theory question asked in exam, then it will related to the its terminology and equation for center distance and gear ratio. And if there is a numerical is, and another question is asked on helical gears, that is numerical. We will discuss this numerical in next chapter, next lecture. Uh, okay. If you have any doubt regarding the helical gear, you can ask. I have discussed the all the terminology or all theory or derivations in regarding or related to the helical gear. If you have any question regarding the helical gear, you can ask here. कोणाचे काही डाउट्स असतील हेलिकल गिअर रिलेटेड तर विचारा. हेलिकल गिअरवर जनरली न्यूमरिकलचेच क्वेश्चन येतात. थेरी क्वेश्चन जनरली विचारला जात नाही, आणि जर विचारला गेला तर तो टर्मिनॉलॉजी किंवा डिफरन्स बिटवीन हेलिकल गिअर अँड स्पर गिअर असेल. आहेत कुणाचे काही डाउट्स? नाही. ओके, ठीक आहे. मी अटेंडन्स लिंक शेअर करतो, अटेंडन्स मार्क करा.